The High Vibe Nation is live. Welcome to the High Vibe Nation, where we have set out to raise the vibration of every human being on the planet. Your hosts on this journey are Sherry Gideons, Pamela Aubrey, and Christy Jones. So let's join them now in their current interview with a high-vibing individual.
Hi, and welcome to the High Vibe Nation, a revolution of love. It's time to live your best life and rise now.
Welcome, everyone, to the show. Tonight we have a very special guest, Christopher Rausch. Welcome to the show, Christopher.
What's up, ladies? It's a pleasure to be here. Good to see you all. Happy Monday.
Yay! So excited to have you here.
Happy holiday.
Vibe Nation. Let's bring some vibes to these people today. Let's rock their world.
Yeah.
It's a holiday. Has everybody been holidaying today?
Actually, I've been pretty lazy today.
Mm-hmm. That's holidaying in my opinion.
Yes.
Over 40, I think that's holidaying, right?
Yeah. I think it can take many different forms, right? Today I was weeding. That was fun.
That's a holiday,
I meditated in the sun today.
There you go. Nice. Yeah.
Got a holiday.
So obviously, as you know, one of the things that we love to talk about on this show is being high vibe. So our question for you is, what does it mean to you to be high vibe?
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me here again. I really appreciate it. I know all of you personally, and I just think you guys are awesome, and really I'm proud of what it is that you're doing with this show. So congratulations for that and having me on here. Hopefully I don't break the internet. But what does high vibe? What does high vibe mean to me? I mean, that is actually, it reminds me of when I came up with KICKASS. I wanted something that said there was electricity, there was a energy, there was some sort of swagger, there was some sort of moxie in your step that said, hey, I'm a little bit different than the rest of you. And it's not that I'm different in a bad way. So I think of high vibe for me as like this vibrational thing, like you're humming with the tune of life, like you're buzzing to your own song, like whatever your song is, that you're buzzing to that. And you wake up every day and you have that song click in your head and it's like, all right, this is what I'm about. You don't have like the old sad songs like, you know, I'm lost in love and all that other stuff. That's a bad vibe. But you wake up and you feel like, you know, you got shit in your pants and you're just ready to go. And I say that like energy, not actual shit in your pants, because that would be really cool. You just have this energy and this swagger and you just wake up and you're on fire. And it's not every day, but you have to tap into that vibration. You have to go search that vibration. So to me, that's what it is. It's like you just have an aura about yourself that says, hey, listen, I'm on my way. Even though I have bad days, good days, whatever it might be, but I'm on my way to really make an impact in the world in my own way and in my own style. What do you guys? Has your definition of high vibe changed since you started this?
Oh, heck yeah. Well, for myself, I love being myself, which is very over the top and silly and playful. And, part of that is just tapping into that energy of love at a greater level. And, it's okay if people don't get that part of me. One of the things I realized that Oprah said years ago, and it's stuck with me all these years, she said that she realized on her journey that she wasn't here to convince people of their truth or how they should be. She says that she was here to give a message and move forward, that she allowed that message to come through her just being her. And for me, high vibe is all about playing full out.
Absolutely. What about you other two? Speak up.
Yeah, no, it's funny because one of the things I love about you is that you bring so much energy to everything that you do. And I just always get that vibe from you that you're just, you're just going, you're just being you and doing your thing. And I have to wonder, was that always the case, or have you learned to be that way?
Wow, that's a great question. I have hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls over here in the comment section. Nice to see you, Shane, Cindy, Trisha, Christine, Cindy.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Cindy.
So thankful you guys for being here. Honestly, I am that way. I have just been very, very driven in my life, and I've had to learn a lot of lessons in the earlier years. And one of those things was that you just touched on, Sherry, was I was trying to figure out who I was, and I was putting on these different masks for different situations. Okay, these people want me to be, clean Chris, don't swear, don't joke around. This situation, I could be total Chris. This situation, I have to be guy Chris because I'm hanging around a bunch of guys. And when I finally figured out just be you, then that energy authentically and congruently just came and hit me. And it's just like, okay, this is me. I'm spun. I talk a lot. It take me 20 minutes to say something that takes 2 seconds, but I get there and I'm having fun while I'm doing it. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting because some people really enjoy that. They love being around me. And some people are like, man, you're exhausting. So I've had to learn, especially like in my family life, it's like, okay, I'll come off of one of these things and I'll go downstairs and I'll still be in that Chris mode. And everybody's downstairs watching TV and eating something. And they're like, yeah, Mr. Motivator. Okay, just go take a walk. Go get some of that steam off. But yeah, when you're jazzed about what you do in life, you do have that extra energy, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
Christopher, I'm wondering, when was that moment that you realized you were just going to be you?
Wow. We were just talking about Les Brown just a minute ago. I was the suit and tie speaker. I mean, people can go on my YouTube page. You can see pictures of me wearing a suit and tie, doing my speaking thing, being all clean, no bandana, nothing like that. And it was a time where I was doing that and I was becoming very successful. And I saw my trajectory getting in the speaking world. It wasn't necessarily coaching at the time. I was doing a lot of speaking. And I came off stage one time and I went back into like the green room area and I looked around. It was a big summit, a bunch of speakers, and I almost didn't even want to do it because there were so many speakers and I was afraid it was going to be a pitch and sell. And it kind of was. So I was kind of disgusted about that. But I went backstage and I saw how many of the speakers I saw speak before me were different when they came off. And they were like, I was like, oh, hey, dude, that was a great show. Oh, yeah, no, whatever. I'm like, okay, aren't you that guy that was on stage? And I was like, I told myself, I don't want to be that guy anymore. I said, I don't like being on stage in a suit. I don't like sweating my ass off in front of a bunch of people, feeling uncomfortable when I'd rather have my hat or my bandana on. And it was a cognizant decision to join a mastermind, get around some really like-minded people and figure out who Chris really was and who Chris was going to be. And that was at the advice of most of my mentors in my world at that time, to not do it, to not go out and do the kick-ass thing, to not do the swearing thing. This is before Gary Vaynerchuk and Andy Frisella and all these other people that swore, like, Chris, you can't swear on LinkedIn. I'm like, all right. If someone doesn't like it, they can just uncheck. It's okay. I'm not going to be hurt. It's okay. And that's when I really realized that it's like, okay, all these other people are being drones and robots and they're saying the things that everybody else wants them to say. I'm like, this is life. Just be yourself and you're going to have the right people that are come around you. And yes, are you going to lose some people? Yes, you are. People are going to go, oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're stupid. I don't like this. Okay. I wish you well. Have a great life. Stay in touch. That's all you have to do. And you just keep rocking your vibe.
Yeah.
And that's the life I lived in the pro bodybuilding industry. I mean, part of the reason I had my very first near-death experience in the 90s was because I was trying to be perfect. I was trying to be what everybody else said I needed to be in order to be liked, loved, and accepted. And so it, came down to my own downfall. And so going back to Les Brown, when I trained with Les Brown and he works with you on speaking and talking, he's all like, go out there and freaking make them hungry, hungry. And the cool thing about him is he always says, get the audience moving up and down. He said, you walk out there and he's all like, how many of you want to experience the best part of your life? Turn around and look at your friend and high five them and say, I love you. I'm the best, and gets them jumping up and down and gets them feeling good about themselves.
Get them out moving.
Yeah. Get that energy flow going.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your life. Tell us a little bit about, what kind of upbringing you had and what's brought you to wanting to really give that message of living the kick-ass life and being confident doing it.
Wow, Sherry, thank you guys. That is a long story, so I don't know how much time we have, but I'm trying to learn how to encapsulate it. Essentially for the tagline, it is a 7th grade homeless dropout living in the backseat of a station wagon with 18 cats and 2 dogs, goes on a 4-year journey that includes 2 suicide attempts, 1 carjacking, 1 gun to the head because I went and buy a pack of cigarettes from a guy who was black and it was the wrong kind of cigarettes. And that's another story. It was a lot of ups and downs. I grew up with a mother who suffered from various psychiatric disorders, dependencies of alcohol, pills, and men. Never knew my biological father. I found out about him later on and found out he was married with his own family at the time. So I do have brothers and sisters out there somewhere, but I'm not going to disrupt their family. Interestingly enough, side note, I did do 23andMe, and I figured at that point, I'm like, well, if they figure me out, then it'll be an interesting conversation. But to get where I'm at today, it took a very painful decision at one point in my life where I was sitting in a motel on the top of the stairs, and I was looking at the prostitution, the drug trafficking, the cops coming in and out, the gangs and everything else. And I knew that there was a couple of decisions in my life that I was going to wind up dead or in jail, or I was going to leave and get out of that place and figure out what it is that I wanted to do in my life. And at the time, I kept taking care of my mom. I took care of my mom from when I was a little kid. And so it became a very codependent relationship that I was not aware of. But at 17 years old, after being through what I had been through, it was like, okay. And then an opportunity sprang itself, and I said, Mom, I have to go take this opportunity. And I thought for the first time in my life, she would actually say, you know what, Chris, I've screwed you up enough. I'm not going to hold you back now. I think you should go. And she called me every name in the book. She told me how selfish I was and blah, 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 blah. Told me all these different things. And it was really the ammunition I needed to say, okay, listen, sometimes you have to make tough decisions in your own best interest, but also in the best interest of other people so that they can become strong. So I made that decision to take that opportunity. And from that opportunity, I met great people who were not like the people I was hanging around, because if you're like the 5 people you're around the most, literally the people I was hanging around were bad news, except for a couple of dudes. So then I got around the right people. And as I said before, 7th grade dropout. So I went back to school, figured things out, went and got my master's degree, bought a couple of houses, got into business, got into speaking. And it just, one day I woke up and said, I want to take all of this garbage, all of this hell that I've been through, all the shit that I've been through, and I want to take it and I want to package it up and I want it to mean something. So it doesn't mean that it happened to me, that it happened for me. And you guys hear me say that all the time, because I fully believe that life is happening for us. And that's when I got into coaching and speaking and mentoring at-risk kids. And really, that was the full circle moment when I got to go back to the junior high school I dropped out of. I never got to say goodbye to anybody. I literally just dropped out because my mom didn't want me to be seen by school officials and all this other stuff. It was just crazy. And I got to go back and speak to the 7th and 8th graders. I was invited back. It's on my YouTube page. It's an amazing situation where I got to go full circle. And the power of, gotta get chills, the power of doing that and taking your trash and making it your treasure is amazing. And that's really where I am today.
Wow. I love that, taking your trash and turning it into your treasure.
Really powerful. Yeah. So you took I like to say you took your pain and you made it your platform. Like you've been able to really reach people who have been in the exact same places as you and help transform their lives. What is that like now? What has that journey been like to, to go from being that person to helping people come out of that place?
Pam, I'm going to give you the shortest answer I probably ever have, because that's a magnificent question. Extraordinary. Literally, it's extraordinary. Last week I'm doing these free strategy calls just to help people out in this difficult time. I'm not doing any sales whatsoever. It's absolutely authentic. It's like, go, book us time with me and I can help these people. And I had 3 individuals last week take me up on that offer. And in that hour, not transforming, but really altering their perspective about the situation and their strength and the opportunity to make something out of that was extraordinary. It was really moving for me to be able to say, wow, I've been through all this stuff. And now I'm at a spot where I can congruently, authentically, confidently say, yes, I can help people. It's not about helping myself through helping people anymore, which is something that I did get stuck on when I first started coaching. I was like, oh, let me just help all these people and I don't have to deal with my problems. I met a lot of coaches like that. So now to be able to say that and to just jump on a call and know without a doubt whatever situation they bring up that I can help them is extraordinary.
Wow.
I want to welcome all of the people in our audience right now. Dina, Christy,
my tribe,
Scott, Dina, Trisha, Demi,
Nation,
Cindy, Shane, Monet, Angel, Larry.
Holiday weekend, right?
It's a great holiday weekend. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all for sharing this out. There's such great value. Here. Yes,
I got to give a special shout out to Monet. She's a dear friend of mine. We've had a great friendship over the years, and she's another one that pushed me to do things that were uncomfortable. I was a singer and semi guitar player, and she used to be the person that would say, all right, you're going to go up there and sing the next song. It was like, what was it called? Not cover band night. It was open mic night. And I'm like, what? I'm not going to do that. She goes, just shut up and get up there. And it was like this. I remember singing this Poison song and I was petrified and I couldn't remember the verses, but shout out to Monet. She's a great person. So, and all you guys just being here, thank you so much. I did shout out to a lot of people. So yes.
Hi, Weldon. Karen.
And
Tina.
You know,
let me turn that back to you guys. I mean, you guys are all coaches in your respective fields, and you guys all mentor and make a difference in the world. What was it like for you when you got to that point where you just like, it was no longer a question if you could, it was a question of how far will you go?
Well, so much of it is letting go of fear, you know, because that good old illusion of fear is very real when it's going on. But when you start to seek more in yourself for the answers and the solutions, and you stop looking for them in the outer world. When you start tapping into the inside and you realize that there's this, you can call it a vibration, you can call it source, the universe, that there's this power that is not separate from us. It's always been available to us. And so we can begin to be differently in a way that we begin to see demonstrating more and more in our outer world. And so for myself, what I realized more and more is a lot what you said is that I had to stop trying to save everyone, because that's where my heart was. You know, my heart was wanting to save everybody. And so I would drain my cup. And as a result of draining my cup, the sickness and the disease would show up in my body, you know, and I'd have had to have my back replaced and, you know, other things that would show up. And so the more and more I began to live in the moment and really make choices in the moment that served me. And at the same time, I stopped giving power to that old stuff, that giving energy to that old stuff. That I decided I was no longer going to allow to own me. Yeah. And so as a result of that, now what I realize is I can meet people right where they're at, but with detachment from the old emotions. And I can serve people right where they're at by helping them align and connect to that joy, that love, that feeling inside of them that feels good.
Yeah. Exactly. It's just so powerful when you see transformation in someone. You know, it's hard to put words to that.
I think Joe has a comment for us.
I know.
Actually, I did. I wore the red one for him. I wore the red one. And I'm like, if Joe's going to be on there, then I'm going to have to wear the red one.
Basically, Joe is saying that you have special superpowers in your bandana. So.
At first, I thought that said it blocks some of the natural absorption of sauce. And I was like,
Joe is awesome. But what about both of you guys?
We love him.
You know,
Joe's awesome.
I'll say for me in coaching, one of the things that I think that has been one of my biggest lessons is listening to people. And I think that what we can offer when we're able to just show up as ourselves and be good with who we are, not trying to put on any image of you're supposed to be this or you're not supposed to be that. And you're just able to authentically be there and listen to people and hear them and offer that space. So often when someone just has that time, when do people get that time? When they're just heard without any agenda, without a motive. And
not often.
Yeah, I just think that as coaches, I mean, that's just been one of my best lessons is listen. And people will tell you exactly what they are looking for when you listen to them.
Yes. And the best part of that, I've learned, honestly, because I had that same situation. I have ADHD on crack, in case you can't tell. So my attention span is like literally really small. But one of the first classes I took in college was a interpersonal communications class. And in that class, I learned really one of the differences that I teach a lot about is listening versus hearing and selective hearing disorder. And how to really give that person your undivided attention to be able to say, hey, listen, on your journey, this is what you learned. And paraphrasing back to them, I never knew how much massive value and power that still has to this very single day. When somebody talks to me and I paraphrase back to them, you're like, there's almost a shock that you actually listened and actually cared about that. So I think that's magnificent. What about you, Miss Pam?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I actually, it's funny because for me, I almost feel like sometimes when I'm coaching, seeing what's happening for the other person, it's like, it's so powerful that it transforms me in a way, but that's kind of one of the amazing things about the work that I do is that because of the energy work, portion of it, there are constantly shifts going on. So it can be something that shifts you at the same time it shifts the other person. So it's really remarkable, like from that perspective. But absolutely, I mean, that listening, just really connecting with someone's heart is just critical.
Mm-hmm. It's a present. I know, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it that, because just listening to you creates fun in me, and I feel the confidence.
I create fun in you.
Yes.
You just do that big smile that, yeah.
In general.
Oh, yeah, let's go. Uh-huh.
No, I'm not taking the shirt off. There's people here who have kids that might need to see later.
Show, maybe after hours.
No, honestly, thank you. No, I really try to bring the fun. I really try to bring heart-centered, smack in your face, serious personal development stuff, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, you got to have fun. I mean, that brings out a different side of people. It loosens them up. And so I'm glad I bring that. So thank you for saying that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Too much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here's Chad. What's up, Chad? Another brother from another mother. Chad's awesome. Thank you for being here, buddy.
Cindy says bacon, not crack.
Ooh, flavored bacon burger.
Question, Chris, what do you think about bacon?
What do I think about bacon? Honestly, as long as I don't think about where it came from, I love it. No, it's fantastic. I mean, bacon really could save the world. I mean, if everybody just had a piece of bacon like every 5 to 10 minutes, I think everybody get along much better. Like, what kind of bacon do you have? I have turkey bacon. Okay, I have Cindy's bourbon bacon. No,
right.
You might have to have some chocolate on the side, but
right.
I like it. Good job. Okay.
I mean, like in a muffin, of course, like a bacon
chocolate muffin.
A bacon chocolate muffin. You've been smoking? You've been smoking and didn't invite me. I'm going to be mad.
A muffin, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the bagel with the cream cheese, the strawberry jelly, and the bacon on top. Have you ever had that?
No.
So good. Oh my
Probably
God.
won't.
You gotta try it. It's yummy.
I like my bacon like I like my, well, I can't say that anymore. Jesus. I was going to say I like my bacon like I like my women, but I can't.
He's a good joke.
Yeah.
Better than
like,
broccoli.
ooh, bacon wrapped broccoli. That would be maybe.
Yeah.
All right, get control of the show before I take it over and we wind up just laughing.
So, Chris, what's great is that you are, as human as everyone else, including us. And so, as amazing as you are, you've had some failures along the way. So, how have you dealt with your failures in life?
Wow.
Good one.
Guess I gotta be human now. No, actually, I look at things. It's interesting when you say the word failure. To me, honestly, and this is no bullshit. Failure is a word. Failure, I can't remember exact quote, but basically, failure is not the falling down. Failure is the staying down. And so, yes, we tumble. Yes, we get knocked off our pedestal. Yes, our expectations aren't met. But honestly, when I look back on my life and I think about the things that I quote unquote failed at, they all, in the situation, of course, I hated it and it hurt and there was a lot of emotion and a lot of, sometimes it took a lot of time for it to heal. But in retrospect, and looking at those situations, I'm so thankful they happened because maybe they happened because I wasn't supposed to be on that path. Maybe if I was going to get in the music business early on, I started off in the music business. I wanted to be an A&R guy. I went to work for Virgin Records in Beverly Hills. It was crazy. I was doing all these things. I was around all these bands. And then there's a couple of things that happened where it just kind of shocked me. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's not supposed to be my course of direction then. Let me figure out what it is. So when you have a quote unquote failure, it's really the best opportunity in life to look and see, okay, what was the actions that led up to this? And what was my responsibility in this? Because oftentimes, actually, I will say this, I can say that. Oftentimes we look to the external source, like you were saying earlier, who can I blame for this? And that was my childhood, and that was my parents, and that was my teacher, and that was my religion, and that was my family, and those were my friends, and all that stuff. And now I'm here, wah, wah, wah. If you sit there and you take an honest look at the situation, it's like nobody made those choices to get where you are but you. Right. And you put that accountability mirror up to yourself and you see it fog for a second. You say, hey, okay, what can I do with this situation now to turn it around to where it's going to work for me and instead of against me? So in my situations where I've quote unquote failed, it has made me stronger for the person that I am because I continue to go on and I continue now more than ever to just let life unfold. Whereas before I was more of a perfectionist and I had to be, okay, what was plan A, B, and C, and D? When you have that and you're a perfectionist, you're going to set yourself up for expectational failure, which is what I call it. So you have to sit there and look at those things and realize they're happening for you. And they may have saved you from a life of, mediocrity and complacency and regret versus a life of just like, okay, what's next? I'm excited. I'm not fearful, but I'm excited. Same emotion, just a different term.
So how do you teach people to start creating different habits, creating different mindsets? Because so many people, as you've said, their habit is to point fingers. Their habit is to go into, the drama of a situation or an experience instead of recognizing that it's them doing it. What do you do to walk somebody through that?
Great question, Sherry. Honestly, it is about the habits and it's really honestly about what you focus on the most. I tell people in the calls that I did last week, I said, just do me one favor. I said, when you wake up tomorrow morning, I ask them, like, when you wake up, what do you think about? And they're like, oh, I think about this and I think about that. And I could tell by their body language, by their energy that, they're just setting themselves up for a mediocre day or something like that. I'm like, when you first wake up, that is your opportunity to, whether you're religious or not, spiritual or not, whatever it is, to just give thanks that you woke up, because so many people go to bed at night and they don't wake up. Okay, so now I'm grateful. Now I'm in a mood of gratitude. So I'm going to be grateful. I'm grateful my son's alive. I'm grateful I have a roof over my head. And you start setting that energy, and then you start setting intentions. Like, my intention for today is to be in the moment and playful with Jackson. My intention today is to get out and serve and help people alter their perspectives about their past, present, and their future. And you start looking at it as an opportunity that whatever it is that you're doing in your habits and what you're focused on, you have to change those. You have to turn the direction around and say, okay, listen, I've been blaming everybody else for this. Now it's my turn to turn the fingers around towards me and say, okay, what's my role in this, and how am I going to accept responsibility for that? And quite honestly, that's how I came up with the moniker of No Excuses Coach, because people would come to me and they would have every excuse in the book, and I would just like, bing, 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 what's next? Right. What's next? What's next? And then I would just leave them raw, and they were just like, you're right. And I love that feeling when they're just like, you're right, Chris. I'm like, how can you blame your parents? What 75 decisions have you made since you were 6 years old? I didn't look at it that way. I'm like, no, because we're a blaming culture. We're not a self-accountable culture. I mean, when we're kids, we're taught, did you do your best, Chris? Yeah, I did my best. Okay, we'll try better next time. Oh, okay. Well, that got me out of it. Oh, do you have a bad teacher? Yeah, she teaches English terribly. Oh, okay. Well, maybe we'll get you a tutor. We'll get you whatever it is. You just got to figure it out and stop putting the blame on other people and take the responsibility for yourself. And that's when life really becomes that high vibration that we were talking about at the start of it. You start getting jazzed and excited about what's next, instead of living in the fear of like, oh, if I have another failure, what are my parents going to think about me? What's my wife going to think about me? What's my friends going to, who cares?
Right.
They have their own shit they're dealing with. They're probably not thinking about you as much as you think that they are.
And I love no excuses. Like, and so I'm wondering, when you have a new client and maybe you haven't built that rapport yet, and you're explaining them that your philosophies, can you just share a little bit about your process and how you introduce people into this no excuses mindset?
Great question. Christy, thank you. They kind of know what they're getting into, I think, when people see me. So it's kind of an expectation. Like, I've had people say, I've wanted to talk to you for a year, but I'm scared to death because I know you're going to tell me what I already know. And you're going to tell it to me in a loving way, but you're going to call me on my bullshit. And I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. So that's kind of freaky. But honestly, I come at it with love. As much as I am a tough guy and as much as I am outspoken, I come at it with, hey, first of all, thank you for reaching out. This is amazing. This is the first step.
Do you do a strategy session with them first, and then you see if you're a match during this process?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. I don't coach everybody anymore, because so many people are tied to their story. If I could feel that they're tied to their story more than I think that I have the strength and the ability to get them out of that story in 6 months, usually what I coach is for 6 months, then I let them go. I'm like, you just want to tell everybody you have a coach. You just want to tell everybody you're getting help, but you really are still tied to that story. And I'm not going to drag myself down, because I did that for years, and I'm so empathic, and I'd be so drained, and I would sit there and
me too.
I would talk to myself like, what am I not doing to get this person to figure this out? I'm like, it wasn't anything I was doing, and they're just so tied to that story. But honestly, it's just love. It's like, okay, are you ready to drop whatever is not working for you and get started on reshaping your perspective about your life and yourself and what has happened to you and what's going to happen for you? And I could read into their chemistry, and just I could tell that's what it is. But it really is about stop that excuse. I don't have time. How in the hell does J-Lo have the same 24 hours in a day? How does Elon Musk have 24 hours in a day? How does all these people have 24 hours in a day and you can't get shit done? Shut up. What are you doing? I mean, seriously, it pisses me off. And I don't have time. I'm like, I figure out how to do things in like 10-minute slots, sitting there taking care of Jackson. I don't have time anymore necessarily like I did, but you do a bunch of 10-minute things really good and really quick and you stay organized about it. You will move the needle on what it is that you need to do. So you just got to stop that. And especially when people say, I don't know how to do that, that really pisses me off because you just have to Google it. I mean, everything out there is available. That's the thing that surprises the heck out of me, guys. And I'm sure you'll agree with me is the fact that if you go on Google or YouTube, literally there are thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of free information that if you just act on it and you just were consistent about it and you just did it, you wouldn't need any life coaches. You wouldn't need anything else. You would just actually make the traction. But most people won't take that responsibility.
Well, I think it comes down to knowing yourself. It goes back to that knowing part of yourself. The more you know yourself, the better you do. I mean, because for myself, I did a lot of beating up of myself for a lot of years because I, like you said earlier, I was trying so hard to be perfect because I thought the answer was if I was perfect enough, then finally I would be loved and accepted. And we all want to be accepted. We all want to be loved. And so when I started tapping into that in myself, and it sounds like you too, you start recognizing that the people that are showing up in your now moments are reflecting back to you parts of yourself that are ready, either one, to be let go of, or two, to step up to a greater, grander expression of yourself.
And how did you do that, Chris? I mean, how did you get to that place of being able to let go of that?
Yeah.
You have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. Honestly, that's one of the things I say a lot now is I tell people, are you playing the someday game? Oh, someday when this, someday when that. Or, literally Tony Robbins talks about you do things for two reasons, to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. So when you catch yourself, what it is that I'm trying to avoid, and you get sick and tired of that stuff, and you realize that life is not going to be easy, you're going to have to make really tough, gut-wrenching decisions to get where you want to go. And most people sit there and play that someday game. Oh, maybe when the kids are grown up, then I'll divorce my husband, and then I'll go out and do the thing I really want to do at 58 years old. Okay, you just spent the last 17 years of your life being miserable and showing your kid what it means to be in an unhappy marriage. You wasted that time. Now you're going to live part of your life in regret. Just go and just address those things and just realize it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be certainly worth it. And you just have to trust yourself. You have to really, like I said before, like I said last week, people kept talking about fear. I'm like, what are you afraid of? Like, I'm afraid of the unknown. I'm like, tell me what's going to happen the next 3 minutes. I'm like, well, tell me what's going to happen the next 3 hours. Well, it gets a little bit more difficult. I'm like, you don't know what is going to happen next. There is no control of the situation. I think really honestly what I've learned, and I'd like you guys' thoughts on this too, is I've learned there is not much you can control aside from your reaction or your response to something. And that's very important as well. But really, if you look at life as being exciting versus being fearful, it's like I used the analogy the other day, you wait to get on a roller coaster ride and you're standing there and you're scared and you're like, oh my God, should I be doing this? That's really high. Those guys are going really fast. They go through a loop-de-doo. But you stand there anyway because you want to be excited. You want to be alive as long as it's safe. But life isn't always safe. But as long as you're excited about what the ride's going to do and how you're going to feel after you've done it and how excited and proud you are that you just went on that quote unquote roller coaster of ending a relationship or ending a job that you hate, it's like life becomes magnificent. And truly life is simple. If you don't like where you're going, stop going there. If you don't like who you're going to, stop going with them. People keep doing it and they get different results. And I'm like, how is that working for you?
It's funny that you say that because I had a second crop of kids right before 40. So I have grown children and then I had twins right before 40. And just literally on Friday, we had a big party for the girls and they had 10 kids over. And one of the girls had to go home early because her parents are really, really strict. And so my daughter and I were talking the next day about how she sneaks around. And my daughter said, I think that when parents are really, really strict, it creates sneaking around kids because you can't just, like she said with us, like we talk to her, we talk to them, we get their opinion. We want to know what value means to them. And so as a result of it, they don't even go and make decisions or choices that don't feel good because they want to be what you said, in that feeling of excited and fun and play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's phenomenal. That's what I'm learning as a parent also. And that's a great point, Sherry, is the fact that we try to overprotect and try to over guide and do all these different things when you just let them experience. I mean,
Yes.
it's like when they touch a hot stove, guess what? Most times they don't touch the hot stove anymore, but we want to protect them. Like, no, sweetie, it's hot. It's hot. We know one day they're going to touch the stove, and we know one day they're going to learn. So why not have them learn it now? You know, I've grown up, I didn't have kids until literally we adopted Jackson when I was 40, 51 now, 48. So very much later in life, and just really kind of thinking about the lessons I wanted to teach him and the type of father I was going to be was the fact that let's see how life is exciting. You know, I can relive my childhood and go through these things and see what's going on. But, you know, ultimately I want to protect him. But at the same time, it's like, just experience it. You're going to frame a reference around it. You're going to have open communication with people. I learned from parents who were really successful. I'm like, what did you do with your kids? And 99% of them said, I talked to them a lot. I told them I loved them a lot, and I listened to what it is they said. And I wasn't that parent that says, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah,
It's like, you know, just be there with them and be there to hold their hand when they make a mistake. Hey, if you go do that, listen, I'm going to be right here with you. And you can tell me anything. You can talk to me about anything. And those parents have amazing kids.
Yeah, and that's what we did with the twins. I mean, that's what we do with the twins all the time. And of course, because I awakened so early, you know, before they were born, so I'm able to share this idea of energy. I'm able to share those deeper truths with them. So when they do make those choices, it's more in a direction that is going to create a life they want, rather than that old thing that you and I went through, the pain and the suffering and the struggle and the challenge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I'm curious, don't you think that some of that is really the parents being more concerned about themselves or maybe their image, how their kids are going to be, you know, seen or how they turn out or whatever. And it's really less about what's really going to be best for the kids. Because the reality of life is, as an adult, you're going to fall on your face a lot. And if you don't know how to do that and get back up, it's going to be a heck of a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to what you were saying, Chris, is really, you know, we're not in control of the situation, but we can control how we respond. And I think when parents have that mindset and they have those tools to really be in charge of their own emotional state, it really opens them up to teach their children powerful lessons. You know, being with their children versus reacting to is really important. Yeah.
Massive.
I wish I would have done that.
That was a great comment, but I don't know. I'm not going to say this name right. Burgett. I think it's Burgett.
Which one?
Gigi. Hi, Gigi. She told me to say hi, Gigi.
right
So
here.
hopefully I got that right.
This one right here?
Yes,
Yeah,
there we
Gigi,
go.
I think.
Yeah. Maybe we have to put more trust.
Maybe we have to put more trust in the children instead of controlling them.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I read a psychological study that says when mom says, hey, Chris, be careful out there. Be careful out there. She's not necessarily doing it for my safety. She's saying basically, if something happens to you, I don't know how I will react to that situation. So if I go out and get busted by a car and I come home in an ambulance, how is she going to react to that? And you have to let people go out there and make those mistakes, quote unquote mistakes and failures and whatever it is, because it builds character, it builds integrity, it builds trust in themselves. Like, hey, I've been knocked down 75 times from my bike and I'm still going. Wow, I must be made of something. I must be a pretty determined, person. As opposed to if I'm protected and I have shoulder pads and knee pads and everything else. I mean, okay, what's going to happen when you go off, like we talk about, the kids that don't even know how to do laundry in their own house and they're 16 years old and they're going to go off to college and they don't know how to have a successful, debate with somebody, not an argument, but they don't know how to do these things because they've been so sheltered and so protected. What are they going to do? They're going to go off in a million different directions, figure out a lot of different things. Their self-confidence is going to be bashed. And then they're going to have to go, get coaching from us and to hopefully fix it. Yeah, try not to be so overprotective. I mean, geez, we were just talking about this the other night. When we were kids, you went out in the morning and you didn't come back until the street light went on. And me and my buddies, we used to ride like 10, 15 miles away from our house. And we used to do all these things and people trusted us. And obviously there's a lot of situations now these days, but we have to be careful about not being overprotective, especially just with ourselves. I mean, like, oh, well, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen if you try it? And it's amazing. Nobody asks themselves those questions. It's like, I have a goal sheet that I work with my clients and it's like, okay, what could potentially be the biggest roadblock or obstacles to this situation? Mm-hmm. And they come out with them. I said, okay, the next step is what will we do when you identify those if they do happen? What are going to be the steps? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I guess I could do this. I guess I could do this. I'm like, you're not so scared anymore, are you? Because you kind of figured it out. You figured out that just whatever's going to happen, you're going to overcome. That's the thing about life. That's the thing I get excited about is like, when you look back on your life, are you happy? Like we said before about the problems, Are you happy those problems happen? Of course, not necessarily, but if they grew you and made you stronger and you finally made a decision that you had to snap, when we talk about that pain versus pleasure, that, getting sick and tired of being sick and tired, once you get to that point, that's when you make the break. My goal in life is to get people to that point before they regret not making that decision earlier by tying their future right now to their end. So we create their legacy, we create their eulogy, and we say, okay, listen, every day when you get up and you set your intentions and you have your gratitude and the needle movers that you have in your life, if they are moving toward that legacy, then get excited about the situations that are going to come. I don't know for me what's going to come next. I really don't. And I'm super excited about it, but I know along the way, I'm going to learn. I may be disappointed. I may be frustrated. My expectations may be distorted, but I know each situation is going to make me stronger.
Mm-hmm. I love that you said that, because that's one of the things that I've been able to do with the twins is we really have talked to them about the idea you teach people how to treat you. And so even from the time they were little, I mean, they'd go over to visit some friends, and the friends would want them to clean their room, or they would want them to do particular things in order to be friends with them. And finally, one of the twins came home, and I said, "What's the matter?" And she says, "Oh, so-and-so wanted me to clean her room. And when I said, no, I wasn't going to clean her room, she sent me home." And I said, "Well, remember what Mom said a long time ago, Hannah. Mom said that you teach people how to treat you. So I'm so proud of you." I told her, I said, "My God," I go, "that's a pretty powerful choice you made to just leave and come home and show her that you weren't going to be controlled, or that your friendship meant that you had to help her clean her room."
Mm-hmm. That's a proud parent.
Heck yeah, I told her, I said, "Own your power." Own your power, girlfriend. You know?
And I think, with boys, it's always interesting because they tend to hurt themselves, and my son has been into electric skateboards for some time now. And after the first bad accident, he's doing 25 miles an hour or whatever, and the board stops and he keeps going. And the next time I see him, he's covered in blood, and I'm freaking out, of course, at this point. But people are asking me afterward, "Are you going to let him still ride that board?" And it's like, he's 17. And would I rather him crash and burn on that than a car or, some other worse thing? Yeah, I would. So, and plus, what am I going to do?
Right.
No, I'm going to let him grow up. I'm going to let him have those moments so he can figure out, oh, maybe there's some things I should do a little bit differently so I don't keep experiencing this same thing.
Exactly. That's what shapes us. That's really, honestly, that's what shapes us. The good times are great, but the times where we learn our lessons is when we're down and we're like, okay, what do I have to do with this? It's like the proverbial Rocky movie, and thinking about that and using that to be truly unstoppable. People out there who have been through massively more than I've been through, who are massively more successful, have just been people who have taken those situations and turned them around faster and just said, okay, what am I supposed to learn next? And you get excited about that. And you have that childhood enjoyment and that adventure and what is next, and just free falling into stuff and not being so worried about what other people are going to think. Honestly, I was just watching Gary Vaynerchuk earlier, and he just said it like a million times. He's like, fuck what people think. Does it make you happy? Does it make you smile when you do it? Then go do more of that. It's pretty incredible.
I saw him being interviewed by somebody the other day on Instagram, and the lady was saying, "Well, why do you have to say fuck every time? Do you like your kids to say fuck? Do your kids say fuck?" And he says, "You know what? I fucking like it. I fucking don't care." And she says, "So what about when your kids go out in the world and everything they're saying is fuck?" And he says, "It's fucking okay." Yep. And she kept getting madder by the minute. Because what he was basically saying to her is, I don't have to mold myself into what you believe I should do or what society says I should do in order to be accepted, in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. He did it.
How do you think people start to do that? When you're working with people and they're really struggling with that, what are some of the things that you help them to do to kind of turn that tide?
I ask them if they're happy being that way. Mm-hmm. And I tell them it's a yes or no answer. A lot of what I talked about, a lot of what I do is I ask people questions and I get them to come to the realization that they already know in their deepest part of their heart or the deepest part of their brain, whichever they're operating from the most. And I just ask them questions like, okay, we're obviously having a conversation today. How do you like the decisions that you're making currently? Well, I don't. Then what do you suppose you could possibly do to change the situations? I have to make different choices. That's why I'm talking to you. Okay. Are you ready to make those choices that might upset other people? just when you're going to be yourself. You know, I have talked to people who have been in straight relationships who are gay. I have talked to, I mean, you run the list by me, and I literally have either coached somebody through it or have helped somebody through that type of a situation. And it's just all about being who you are, you know, celebrating your freak flag, whatever it might be. I mean, kid you not, we were talking about Les Brown earlier. Les Brown told me when I was in his trainer camp, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen the picture, but Les Brown puts on a bandana.
I saw it, yeah, the one with you.
He actually came down, he's like, "You got one of those for me, kick-ass?" But he did not like the language. He didn't like anything. But I'm sure, and I know this, and I can say this, and I would say this to Les Brown's face. I can honestly say, I think that he would actually entertain a little bit of that, because I think on the inside, he might be that freak. But he's done things. He's played well to the chest. He's very successful in that respect. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be successful. I just want to be me. It's hard enough to try to be, you know, somebody else in this world and try to come up with the goals and the dreams of what somebody else wants for us. For what? It's idiotic. You know, we're going to be the people that are going to be 75, 80, 90 years old. We're going to live longer, by the way, that are going to have to look back on our life and go, wow. I mean, there's a book. It's called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. If there's a thing on it on the internet, but I bought the book and I listened to the audio. The top regret of the dying was that I lived a life that I thought I was supposed to live versus the life I wanted to live. And this is a hospice nurse that sat with people who were dying, and this was their number one complaint, that I did things. My dad wanted me to go in the plumbing business. I went into that. Oh, my parents thought that going into music was stupid. I was a ballerina dancer, but now I'm an attorney, and now I have $100,000 in debt, and I'm miserable. I'm like, so what do we have to do to get you to where you need to be and not worry about all that extraneous stuff, and just wake up every day and you feel great about what it is that you're doing and who you are? You're going to feel like that's going to be weird and awkward for a little while. Yes, you will. But once you just start being you, when I did the bandana thing and I just all of a sudden the kick-ass thing and like, okay, I'm going to swear because I had so many people telling me not to do it. And I'm like, okay, that's you. That's you. I'm just going to go for this because this is who I feel I need to be. And my tribe is coming around me. I know Shane's on here. I know Scott's on here. You guys are on here. Just being has attracted so many awesome people in my life. To all the other people, I just left a 26-year corporate career. To all the other people, I wish them well. I thought I was somebody different. I thought I had a different identity. We could talk about identities. I mean, that's interesting. In that capacity of who it is that you're trying to be, you have to let go of those identities. You have to let go of what people think of you and just be you, and just go into that and have the security and the safety. One last thing I'll leave on that, because I want to make sure I mention it for everybody out there watching. And you guys, if you haven't seen it, go watch Steve Harvey's, the comedian. He has a video called Jump. It's less than 2 minutes. You watch it, and that's what encapsulates a lot of what I've said today, is the fact that you have to jump. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna get scraped up. You're gonna be, oh my God, those people are flying, they're soaring. What's happening to me? Oh my God, I'm free falling. What's gonna happen next? And all of a sudden your parachute opens. And then you start to glide a little bit, like, okay, this is actually pretty fun. I like gliding. This is really neat. You know, why did I glide before? Oh, because parents, you know, what happens if you crash? You're going to die anyway, so you might as well crash flying. I mean, geez. Don't be so worried about
it goes back to what you were saying earlier. You know, it's like we try so hard to control everything and to protect ourselves. And the reality is, you're absolutely right. You know, when we're in that free fall, that's when the magic happens.
Sure does.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt. Wouldn't you guys say that from your perspectives, being successes in your own respective territories and now coming together and doing the High Vibe Nation? Would you guys be here today if you were being somebody who you weren't or aren't?
No, because that's the joy in what we're doing. I mean, every day, you know what happens all day long? So you know what happens for me to get in that vibe? I walk into the room and I'm like, I shook a boomy boom boom. I do that all day long. I shook a boomy boom boom.
Shook a boomy boom boom. Boom boom boom. I have a playlist. I don't do that, but I listen to music.
I swear to God, it creates the funnest, most awesome vibe in me. And my twins, they're like, Mom, you are so crazy. And I'm like, that's your mama.
Yeah.
Next TikTok.
And
I'm dying to see it. It's already in my head.
I haven't been able to read all the comments right now, but do we have any questions in here? Because I definitely I tease people. I said, if you have any questions or anything, I'd love to hear from you. So I want to make sure we don't miss any of those. But Joe says my virgin ears are bleeding. I'm like, nothing about you, Joe.
Why you say that?
Okay, he'll get over it.
Let me see. Why you say these F words in a global society? It's not good at all. then don't listen to them. In a global society, that's your opinion. I mean, that's fine. But in a global society, I'd rather talk to somebody who has passion and who is real than somebody who's getting up there prescribing the words they're trying to say I mean, come on, just be you. And if it doesn't resonate with you, then go find somebody who does. I mean, that's why I look at it.
Yeah. And one of the things, I mean, just ever since I met you, Chris, what I've really just admired and respected is just that you show up as yourself, no matter what. And I truly believe you offer freedom. Just anybody watching you feels a sense of freedom that they can just show up and they can be what's there for them. And I think it's so important. And especially, I would say, I kind of wanted to get a little bit more from you on working with teens. And I think that the work you do of being yourself and young people seeing that you can actually follow what's authentic to you. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. And thank you, Christy. I mean, we met each other in person that one time, and I think you're awesome too. I could tell your spirit. So thank you for saying that. But yeah, it's just what you said. You know, you just show up being you, and people kind of go, okay, cool. And I know without a doubt, probably more people than not go, what the hell is this guy about? You know, oh, he's what's wrong with the world. Okay, well, just go ahead and, you know, just go back to your bitch session and whatever your miserable life might be. But to answer your question, working with teens is phenomenal. It is so great. I work with an organization called Olive Rest, and they are at-risk teens. I got into that from being a mentor for the Corona Police Department here in Riverside, California. I went through the police department. I said, I want to help these kids who are out there. They don't have parents. They have these stupid counselors. And I shouldn't say that, but they have these counselors. I shouldn't say stupid. But they have these counselors that don't have the experience. They don't have the in the trenches situations that I've been through. They've developed their counseling from books and stuff like that. Right. So to be able to talk to somebody and say, hey, listen, you know, Chris, I've done these things and I've done these things and I'm not proud of them. And I've done some pretty horrible stuff to people and, you know, or, you know, I just want to be a musician. I just want to be this. And my family wants me to be this. Or my friends want me to be that. I'm like, you know, there is, like you said, there's a freedom. And thank you for saying that, Christy. There's a freedom in when you don't have to prepare and think about what it is that you're going to do, because that takes the fun out of life. You know, like when I told you guys, I said, ask me anything. Let's free fall into this. That's what Scott and I do on our Friday Night Lives. That's what I do on Raw and Unscripted, on the Speaking the Part podcast network. I got to make sure I get that right for Shane. It's an amazing network developed to mental health and pain and personal development. But what do I say to these kids? I'm like, listen, you can have two choices in life. You could try to make everybody else happy, or you can make yourself happy. And again, going back to what I said, life is simple. If it makes you excited, then do it. And if it doesn't make as much money, or it doesn't give you as much attention, or whatever it is, that will be fine, because the impact that you make in a person or in a situation with your art, your music, whatever it is that might float your boat, that's where the magic happens. And that's where so many people get it wrong, because they think they have to go through this prescriptive thing of life, and that someday they make it to this place where they're happy. It's like, oh, I have this and I have that and I have this. I'm like, why can't you be happy right now?
Yeah. When they have
that's what I'm going to talk about around talking to kids. When you're talking to kids and their whole focus is on material things, and, you know, the next best Jordan shoes, or, you know, they want this or that, but their focus is on a lack of money or not enough money. How do you address that topic when they're saying to you, well, I don't have enough?
I say, how do you get enough? What can you take responsibility for today that can get you that? If you want a pair of Jordans, what can you sell today? I haven't really thought, I've got my baseball cards, but I really like those. What do you like more, your baseball cards or the Jordans? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you know how to wash a car? Well, yeah. We'll go out and wash 10 cars a day for $10 a piece. You got a bucket, you got some soap, right? Yeah. Okay. You know, just go. It's about getting resourceful. So many people sit there and they have that lack mindset. Like, I don't know what to do. It's like, go Google what 100 things can I do today to make $5. You know, get on Fiverr. I've had so many people sit there and say they don't have money. I'm like, go get on Fiverr. You're an artist. You're a this, you're a that. Go get on Fiverr. Well, it's only $5. I'm like, well, what is 5 times 25 times 7 days a week times 365 days a year? Is that going to buy you the situation that you want that's supposedly going to make you happy? Or how about just realizing that maybe you're trying to cure a symptom to a problem instead of the root cause to a problem, and you're still going to be miserable, but you're going to still have the Jordans. That's where I really get excited about and getting into that stuff, because it's like, you know, when you get into the root of something and you really pull that son of a bitch out and you like, here's your problem, here it is, and they are able to address it and realize it, then nothing's going to hold them back from that point. And going back to tie it into the speaking thing, it's funny because I've spoken for a lot of youth organizations. I was also involved with the Brightest Star organization, and in some of those situations, she said, please don't swear. And I'm like, I'm going to talk to these kids like they talk to each other. Okay, I'm not going to go in there and say,
well, I've never heard a bad word before. I can guarantee it, right?
The 15-year-old is not going to be surprised if I say, get your shit together. But if I say, get your stuff together, they're like, oh, he's just another one of those guys. So I walk in the room, I'm like, hey guys, I'm here. I'm here with you and for you. Here's my story. Here's where I've been. You're going to get nothing but authenticity from me. How can I serve you? And let's just have a real conversation. What's the real situation here? And 9 times out of 10, these kids, between 13 and 18, even in their 20s, I've mentored, when they graduate from the at-risk program, they go on to like an adult program that I kind of help them with. The fact that when you get to the fact that they're still dealing with a hurt kid, they could be the toughest gangbanger. I told this one guy, I said, I'm gonna give you a hug. He was a known gang member. He goes, if you hug me, I'll kill you. And I said, I'm gonna give you a hug, so you're gonna have to kill me. And as soon as I hugged him, he got real mad. He's like, and I gave him a bigger hug. I'm like, dude, I got you. It's cool. You don't have to be that tough. It's okay. You're probably 6 years old inside, damaged from a situation that happened from your parents who didn't know any better at the time anyway. So you just
reminds me, what that reminds me of when you just said that. See, some of these kids have never had hugs and they've never been really shown this love. It kind of makes me think of the story that Bob Donnell tells about, sitting next to what was it, Pam? He sat next to somebody on a park bench or something like that, and the guy had just gotten out of prison, and he, ends up asking him all these questions. And lo and behold, the guy like really opens up to him and he gives him a big hug. And that, somebody like that, hard life, getting out of prison, never been taught that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden he's opening up at a level through specific questions. And then here's this guy that comes along and, gives him a hug. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing what a hug could do.
And that's actually on Bob Donnell's TED Talk. If you haven't heard that yet, it's really powerful.
Yeah, Bob's great people.
Yeah.
Well, I think it goes back to, just what you were saying earlier. It's about empowering them. It's about empowering kids and adults alike, and to help them to start to see who they really are, and to be able to then fall in love with that person. Because that's essentially what it takes, is to realize it's okay. It's okay if I like myself. It's okay if I love myself, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what recommendations would you guys give to the audience right now if they don't know how to love themselves or like themselves? What experiences in your respective backgrounds would help them, in this time right now? If they're like struggling, I don't even like myself. I don't even know myself. I don't even love myself. What would you guys say to them?
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. A lot of what I'm teaching is people to start listening inside their body.
Yeah.
So I start with really simple things. I start with movement. And sometimes when you can just start moving your body, you start feeling good. So that's a really simple place to start. And so if you can just even start feeling like the tension going away, I won't ever start a conversation unless we move first. Because then all of a sudden you've relaxed the body, you're in a place where you can now truly connect with each other. And so, I start with those simple steps to find out what's there, but movement to me is just one of the most powerful things, because when you move your body, you change the energy in your body, right? And all that tightness and all that stress leaves the body, and it allows for true connection and authentic conversation.
That is beautiful. And I know you for that too. So keep that shit up.
I will.
Well, and I'm a heart math practitioner. So one of the things I love to do very first with people is to help them get that brain-heart coherence right away. And a lot of times when you're in that space, it's very easy just to even think the word love. And when you do that, it's incredible the transformation that you'll feel very, very quickly. And so practicing that over and over will just help people move into the space of that feeling. And it doesn't feel as threatening as I love myself.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what the feeling, the experience that you're creating within your body, and then it's changing your neurology. So, that is just a quick, easy, powerful way. And you can do that in a few minutes, to change your state, but then to also start to reprogram yourself.
And they're so focused because they're using the little monitor, right?
Yep.
You can use the monitor. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, for some people that's helpful. For some people, they prefer not to always use it because it can be a little distracting. So everyone's different.
Yeah.
But you absolutely can. Yeah.
And they're literally getting to see the connection of their heart and their brain together, which is so fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it leads me back to that whole conversation we were having about Les Brown earlier. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that he taught me when I was first learning with him back in the early 2000s. One of the things he said is, what can you do to ignite that feeling, a strong feeling inside? And so that's why he comes out on the stage and he connects people with, greatness is within you, and I'm hungry, or he'll say, turn around and look at your partner. And so I do that a lot with my clients and the people that I work with too. I'll get them very much like what Christy is saying, moving, doing something that connects them. And it takes me back to something you said earlier too about floating your cork. Abraham says the same thing. Whatever it takes to get you to connect to a higher vibe feeling, do that. Even if it takes you milking an old happy experience. Like we used to go to Tahoe every summer, and we'd go to this place called Zephyr Cove, and you can walk out on the Tahoe Lake, and it was clear, crystal clear. You could drink the water, and the sun was beating down on your skin, and I could feel the warmth all over my skin, and just this smile, this big huge smile would come over my face, and I would just be like, that feeling.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it goes is that when people start realizing what they're telling themselves, the feelings they're creating with that. We talk a lot about the feeling of a thing as a thing itself. And so when we uncover what somebody's feeling is and we see what's there, then there's that opportunity to shift it. Like you'll say, well, how's that working for you? And you help them become aware, and then there's opportunity to shift it.
Paramount.
Well, so Chris, how do people learn more about what you do, and how can they find you, connect with you, all that good stuff?
We just keep talking for another 2 hours.
I know.
That's how they get. No, I guess we have to wrap up. Really, I was just starting to get started.
That time.
I was just getting fired up.
I know.
We're used to the longer ones.
No, honestly, guys, it's been a pleasure being here with you guys and sharing the screen, sharing the mic, and having people show up and making that impact. So thank you guys for having me here. The simplest place to get a hold of me is just ChristopherRausch.com. You just go to Christopher Rausch, RAUSCH. Go to ChristopherRausch.com. My social media is there. YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff. And then just connect with me. I just would love to connect with you guys. But just, ultimately you have to ask yourself, really some important questions in your life. And then one of those questions we've said here before is, how is that working for you? Have those honest conversations with yourself, and don't look to your friends to necessarily always give you the truth, because friends aren't always going to give you the truth. You have to look within inside and say, what's my truth? Not what anybody else thinks, not what anybody else cares, and just fly your freak flag. Just go with it. Just do your Zumba, do whatever it might be that shakes your bonbon. Get into that spirit, get into that soul. So many people need your whatever your freak is. Somebody needs that. And the more people we have in this world who are happy doing what it is that they want to do, not what they have to do, but what they want to do, the happier this world's going to be. And that's been my goal, is just to try to get everybody just to realize, stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Half of that stuff isn't even controllable by any measure of standards. That's why I stopped watching politics. That's why I stopped following the news. I realize I have the impact I can make is with my choices and the people that are in my circle of influence. I can't worry about changing government. I can't worry about all other stuff and all the, the locusts are coming, whatever. I'll spray them, fuck whatever. Wait, there's another thing coming, Chris. Well, guess what? There's going to be a million more. Get used to it. We're not going to get rid of all the bugs. We're not going to get rid of all the pandemics. We're not going to get rid of all the natural disasters. We're not going to get rid of stupid people in public office. That's going to continue for a while. So it's just your choice of how you choose to respond to it, and use it as your leverage and your strength to get you to where you want to be and deserve to be. That's the key to life. That's about being unstoppable.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even when you just say unstoppable, like that just feels so good, right? This
That's
feels
why I say it.
right?
It's like the only person that's stoppable is the person you are. Like, oh, I stopped. Well, why? Well, start going again. Well, that would take some decisions. Well, then make them.
Mm-hmm.
You got all the time in the world. Go make those 3 decisions. Go. I call them needle movers. You have a needle mover that you do every day. 2 to 3 needle movers, and you start doing those things, and you start getting that reinforcement. You start feeling that energy, and it starts building momentum. And that truly is unstoppable. It's like, all right, you know what? Whatever's going to happen. I know. Sorry, God forbid. I've already been through enough of my life, but I'm not stupid to think that I'm not going to go through more stuff, whether it's my health as I get older, my family, whatever it is. But I know that whatever it is, that I'm going to hit it head on, and I'm going to try to find the reason out of it and the strength out of it to continue to move on and continue to help. Otherwise, what am I going to do? I'm going to curl up in a ball and wait one day to die. I mean, that's a miserable existence. That's a miserable
You're basically already dead, so why bother?
Your vibrational reader meter, because I want to turn the dial up. I want that antenna to be turned up so that I'm attracting, like you said, I'm attracting more of this sugar boomy boom boom.
Mm-hmm. You need to do a TikTok video on that.
I don't know. It's cool when Chris does it.
I'm gonna twerk. You want me to twerk? I'll twerk. I have no problem. I had somebody threaten me. They're like, Chris, why don't you wear a pink bandana? Are you too manly to wear a pink bandana? I said, I'm not too manly to wear any pink, and I'll still kick you.
If you send me a pink bandana, I'll wear it.
I have all the colors in the world. When I did my live events, once people graduated, they didn't get a stupid piece of paper. I mean, paper's not stupid, but I gave them a bandana, brand new bandana. We learned how to fold it. Now I'm kick-ass unstoppable. Now I got that feeling. Chad shows up to the things. He wears a bandana. Sometimes he's like, I just feel extra energy with it. It's like, whatever it is that works for you. Honestly, I swear to God, the only reason why I wear a bandana is I sweat and I hate perspiration on my face. And then the hat became something else because people, when I just wore the bandana, like, oh, you look kind of like Bret Michaels when I used to spike my hair out. And I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, I don't want to do that. And so then I used to wear my hat on backwards or a bandana. So then I just combined the two. And that's the whole story beyond that. It's just like, whatever works for you, whatever makes you happy.
Right.
So important question. What's your favorite color bandana?
Wow. Joe, what's my favorite color bandana? Joe?
Joe?
Bacon.
I was just thinking, I wish I could figure out how to pull off the bandana.
you want to pull it off? Well, you got to come a little closer. Come a little closer. You can pull it off.
Okay, hang on, wait.
Yeah. What's my favorite? Honestly, I don't know. It just depends on my mood. It just kind of depends on what I'm bringing. Sometimes I like gray. Sometimes I like blue. I like black because it kind of just blends in. I have neon green for mental health awareness. I have a neon green bandana and a neon green tie. When I would go out and speak, I had my little professional kind of mix smash of business and rock star kind of thing. And yeah, to me, the color doesn't matter. It's that now it's become a thing. And that's kind of cool. That's when you know your branding's working. That's when you know you're on point, is when you're out there swearing, you got your hat on backwards, you're wearing a bandana, but you're bringing the value and you're bringing the heart to everything else. They don't look at that, or it becomes a sign of strength, or it's like, people sit there and say, I get memes all the time for this. I mean, I've done that since I was like a little kid. It used to be a rock and roll thing, but it's now just stay kick ass. And people are like, oh yeah, they send me that. They send me bandana things. It's like, that's when you know you're working. So yeah, just fly your freak flag and have a good time doing it. I mean, that's what this is all about.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Christopher. We love you so dearly. I mean, we're so grateful that you're in our family, that we are in each other's circle of influence. And thank you so much. Thank you, all of our guests. We're so grateful for each and every one of you being here with us tonight. Thank you all who have shared this out. That means the world to us. Yes. You can find us.
We appreciate you.
Yes, we appreciate each and every one of you. You can find us at www.thehighvibenation if you want to book yourself as a guest. And until Wednesday night, we have the amazing Eric Swanson on Wednesday
Incredible.
Night. Yes, Mr. Incredible. And once again, have an amazing Memorial Day. I hope you had a fabulous weekend. And until Wednesday night, love you all.
Thank you, guys.
From everybody here at the High Vibe Nation, we want to say thank you for choosing to raise your vibration. And of course, please like, share, and subscribe. If you need to find us on the web, check us out at www.thehighvibenation.com. Looking forward to seeing you on the next episode, and keep high vibing.